Um, at the conference today, you were present, and also you were the former Assistant Secretary of State under Bush administration.
Yes.
The present Secretary of State, Assistant Secretary of State, when he was making his speech today, he mentioned 5 things about their policy, the Obama's policy on Africa. What is your view on Obama's administration policy in Africa?
Well, first and foremost, there's tremendous continuity from the Bush administration, and there's tends to be continuity in our Africa policy, and it has been very bipartisan. There's continuity from the Clinton administration. I certainly believe that the Bush administration did a lot more, and now the Obama administration is starting in its effort, and we hope that the Obama administration will do even more. There's a lot of continuity. The interests or the goals that he set out are the fundamental ones: economic growth and development, democratization, stability and peace, countering terrorism and other transnational threats, whether it's organized crime, drug running. Those are all interests that every administration has carried forward. They also, I think the Bush administration left the Obama administration a really good institutional legacy for carrying out these policies in the Millennium Challenge Corporation, which is putting significant new foreign assistance into Africa, $3.9 billion in 2008. And so it's more today, I would hope. The President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, he mentioned that it's now called the Global Health Initiative, or and he's called it $63 billion. Well, 59 of that $63 billion was already put there by the Bush administration. So it's, again, continuity. Many of the policies and the institutions, in other words, are carrying on during the Obama administration. I personally would hope that President Obama would be even more engaged than he has been on Africa policy. Assistant Secretary Carson mentioned, I think, 4 or 5 heads of state meetings that have happened in the Oval Office. He can do a lot more. And it's important for him to have that engagement because he needs to build a relationship with those African leaders. He specifically mentioned the work that President Obama did with, I think, President Zuma of South Africa and Prime Minister Meles in the context of the G20 and work on climate change. And I think that type of working, rolling up your sleeves and getting in there and working with African leaders serves the United States well, and it also serves Africa well.
As you stated, there is a lot of continuity, but do you see any difference between their own policy and the policy when you in the Bush administration?
Well, there's one new initiative that they have that is a difference, and that's their food. I think he called it feeding. I don't remember the name of it, but they basically have an agricultural initiative, and he mentioned that 12 African countries out of 20 will be participants in this new agricultural initiative, which will provide $500 million. That's a new initiative. That was not one that the Bush administration's policy was to try to push for the elimination of trade subsidies, and specifically agricultural trade subsidies, but we never were able to do it because we wanted to do it within the WTO, the World Trade Organization Doha round, and we couldn't get agreement from the Europeans and the Japanese and others to also get rid of their agricultural subsidies. I, for one, think if you're going to help Africa on agriculture, the best thing you can do is get rid of agricultural subsidies, which puts their exports at a disadvantage. But I do think that agriculture initiative holds out a lot of promise. We haven't actually seen it developed yet. I think they announced it, but it hasn't yet been fully developed. And so I think that that's a new point of departure for the Obama administration.
That gets me to my next question. Africa, we hear, give us aid, send aid to Africa. Isn't there any way, instead of continuous giving aid to Africa, some mechanism whereby Africa could be helped to be self-sufficient without constant aid? Because it seemed like, okay, there's AIDS going every time this happened, AIDS. But yet, I think that the best way to approach Africa is to make them self-sufficient so that they cannot continuously be asking for aid. Isn't there any mechanism in place to help Africa get to that level where the AIDS is not?
Yeah, there are mechanisms. I think that we have a comprehensive approach to growth and development in Africa. One is based on trade, making sure that we open our markets so we don't disadvantage African exporters or producers. So creating the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which was just established under the Clinton administration, expanded under the Bush administration, and continued under the Obama administration, is one such tool. The Millennium Challenge Corporation, which is intended to put aid in countries that have the right macroeconomic policies, that are investing in health and education, and that are better governed or well-governed countries and aren't corrupt, essentially. And so that's smart aid, right? Actually putting it in an environment in which it's likely to have a return. Right. Another tool is under the Bush administration, we established a multilateral debt relief initiative. And so African countries who were spending all of their money paying back debt, not being able to, and then the interest rate is just increasing the amount, so that they had odious debt, getting rid of that debt. I think that's another aspect of it. And so, trade, aid, development, we established in the Bush administration OPIC funds to stimulate investment, foreign direct investment in Africa, to get companies, and get the private sector, the capital markets in Africa working. And so in over about a 10-year period, Africa went from about 9 billion in FDI to over 80 billion in FDI. Now, that's not all coming from America. As Johnny Carson said, it's been difficult to get American companies to invest because they're risk adverse. But a lot of that investment is coming from China, from India, from Malaysia. And so Africa is seen now as one of the emerging markets, and they've had growth of at least 5% over the last 10 years. And the private sector is waking up to high returns in investment, high returns on their investment into the African continent. So I think that there are many different tools. It's just going to take some time to get countries out of poor income to at least medium income and high income status.
Thank you, Ambassador Frazer. You've been very informative. We are going to continue watching you this evening because you are the keynote speaker at the event this evening. So we'll be getting more clip of you discussing more about Africa, correct?
Yes.
And again, thank you so much for being on Africa Express, and we're looking forward to talking to you again. And again, I want to thank you for the good work that you are doing in Africa. Reading about you, you've done so much, and I wish I had more time to let the viewers and the rest of Africans out there know about the good work that you're doing. But again, continue to do the work you're doing in Africa. On behalf of the entire African continent, I thank you so much. Thank you for being on Africa Express.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
And you are watching Africa Express here at the African Presidential Archives and Research Center at BU, and also the conference on African American and U.S. foreign policy. Again, thank you for staying with us at Africa Express. Please do continue to watch us on this same channel, same time. Thank you.